Confirmation of the agenda. Deputy Reeve Campbell and Councillor Sype. All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest, if any. None noted. Moving to the consent agenda. What is your pleasure there?
I'll move approval of the agenda.
Councillor Wadden, Councillor Sype seconding, or any questions? All in favor? Carried. And that takes us to committee of adjustment. Okay, we'll need a motion to recess the council meeting to move into committee of adjustment. Councillor Sype and Councillor Ritzman-Taninga. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Okay. Motion for accepting the agenda for the committee of adjustment. Councillor Nutt, Deputy Reeve Campbell. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Laura, do you take over now, or?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good evening, Region Council. This is a minor variance application for the Committee of Adjustment. This application was made by Ken and Shelley DeVries for 449 Carling Terrace. The purpose of the application is to seek relief from zoning bylaw 82-2008. The subject property is designated residential in the North Huron official plan and zones R1-3 residential low density special zone. The applicant is proposing to construct on their property an above-ground swimming pool. The provisions set out in the North Huron zoning bylaw general provisions for an accessory structure such as a swimming pool state that it must be located in the rear or interior side yard of a property and should not be located closer to the street than the setback required for the main building. The applicant is requesting a variance for the exterior side yard applicable to the setback from the street for the main building. In the R1 zone, the exterior side yard setback is a minimum of 6 meters from the street, and the proposed variance seeks relief for 5.7 meters for the exterior side yard, and as the applicant proposes to locate the pool at a setback of 0.3 meters from their property line. Comments received from North Huron Public Works during the circulation period and during the review of the application identified that the location of the existing fence is on township property, and for the fence to remain, an encroachment agreement is required to be entered into between the applicant and property owners and the township. An agreement is a recommended condition of this report. Comments received from the risk management official determined there's no apparent land use activities associated with threats to source water for this application. This is an aerial photo from 2015 of the subject property, where you can see that the existing fence is located slightly off of the property line. They're not an exact match for the property line outlined in green and the actual surveyed one, but it's an idea for reference. This application was reviewed against the 4 tests of a minor variance, meeting the intent of the North Huron official plan. The proposed construction of a pool is a permitted accessory use for a residential use, which is permitted in the residential designation, meeting the intent of the North Huron zoning bylaw. A swimming pool is a permitted use as well in the residential zone as an accessory structure. The intent of setbacks in the zoning bylaw are to allow for site maneuverability and access, reducing the setback from the required 6 meters to 0.3 meters to permit the pool to be located in the exterior side yard takes the existing rear and interior yards into consideration. So as you can see on the aerial, there is a very reduced interior side yard and a minimal rear yard that is currently taken over with the existing deck that was constructed. So the Section 3.39 of the zoning bylaw requires the height of a swimming pool fence to meet a minimum height. And as well, the pool must be enclosed by a fence and would not be permitted without a satisfactory fence around it. Therefore, the proposed construction of the pool would not affect the existing exterior side yards due to the fence being there and already obstructing the view of that side yard. The question is asked, is this desirable for the appropriate development of the subject lands? There's no expected negative impact from the proposed pool construction on the site triangle or the visual of the property because of that existing fence. And a recommended condition is that the fence is either removed to this or an encroachment agreement is established between the applicants and North Huron Township to allow that fence to remain in place. A recommended condition is the pool is maintained at a distance of 1 meter away from the fence. So this is maintained if the fence is where it is currently or if it is moved onto the property line, and the fence will be located 1 meter away from the pool to allow access around the pool for walking and maneuverability. Is this application minor in nature? It is considered minor in nature and appropriate for the scale of the property because of the unique position of the existing fence. And again, that recommended condition ensuring that there is 1 meter between the pool and the fence to allow for access around it. So with these 4 tests, I am recommending approval for this application with the conditions included in the report. And this is a view of the subject property from Carling Terrace. So you can see the existing fence. And then this is looking from James Court into the area where the pool will be located, and the fence would be enclosed around the pool. So you wouldn't actually see through to the other side of the fence.
Okay, now the fun job of picking from the chart.
Oh, yes, that's the chart. It'll be small up here, but you should have your copies. So to summarize the comments received, there were comments received from North Huron Public Works with a recommendation of an encroachment agreement to allow the fence to stay. And there was no comments received from the public at the time of circulation.
Okay. So first, we need a motion. You're moving in favor, Bill?
I will do so.
Yolanda seconds. Discussion, if any. Travis?
So the way I understand is the expectation is the fence would stay where it is based on getting this encroachment agreement.
Yes.
So, and then there isn't a requirement to have a secondary fence inside that one, correct? Because it's an upvote. This fence would be the policy for the fence. It doesn't need a double fence.
It doesn't need a double fence, but it will have to have a fence that meets our pool fence bylaw.
Okay.
I think the pool fence bylaw references 5 feet. Some above ground pools come with a little mini fence that you can attach to the top, which would be adequate if it met the bylaw, or enclose it all with a fence.
So Kerr, you're saying the fence that's currently there, does that fence meet the requirement for the fencing bylaw?
As long as it's 5 feet tall. I have not measured
Okay,
it.
so as long as it's 5 feet tall, which,
Okay. James?
Is the landowner in agreement to get an encroachment on this fence?
Yep.
Bill?
One small question. When I looked at the site plan there, you're putting the pool 1 meter inside the actual property line, not inside the fence, correct? Is that correct?
So the pool would be 1 foot, 0.3 meters away from the property line, but the recommended condition is that it maintains a meter away from the fence at a minimum so that there is accessibility around the pool. So if the fence were to be removed closer to the property line, then there would still need that minimum maintained between the actual pool structure and the fence.
Anything else, council? Kirk,
No comment.
okay, thank you. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Now we go to this page of reasons that we did it that way. In the interests of being transparent, that how we took into consideration any comments given to us about it. So does 4 sum a bunch of that up? Councillor Slade.
Yeah, I would recommend 4A, as in the public comments were received, which more of the public comments are from municipality staff, but
Yeah.
there's still comments received. And they were addressed through the conditions of the application. So based on those conditions have been met, we believe that effect is why we accepted the proposal.
So 4A and B, or
Yeah,
that is a motion?
yes, it is.
Seconder for that, Councillor Knott. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Adjournment motions. Adjournment motion for the Committee of Adjustment, Councillor Vodden, Councillor Ritzman-Tominga. All in favor? Carried. And a motion to reconvene the council meeting, Councillor Sype, Councillor Knott. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Okay. Can we have a motion now to accept the recommendation of the Committee of Adjustment?
So
Thank you, Councillor Sype, Councillor Callahan. All in favor? Carried. Moving to 5.2, Musical Muskrat Festival.
Good evening, councilors.
We are here on behalf of the Musical Muskrat Festival to kind of lay out where we are in terms of this year's celebration.
Here's a rundown of our committee. Me and Melinda are the co-chairs. And you can see the rest of the staff there. For staff of the committee. After a year off, we've thought that it would be nice to bring it back because it was a good event for the community, and we felt that it was something that should be around still. So we've done what we could or can to help bring that back. We have a quick rundown of what we have planned, and we appreciate any comments as well. For the Friday evening, we have planned a dinner that will be done by Bruce Vincent, tickets will be sold for in advance. And then there'll be entertainment through the rest of the evening. You can see the list of bands there, as well as a baseball game. I believe that's just a regular season game for the Hitmen. Just a good night of entertainment. And on the Saturday, we're starting off with the color run, and then there'll be family yoga and what we're calling the Super Fantastic Kid Zone. So basically what that is a whole bunch of different inflatable activities for kids from, I guess, probably 3 right up to teenagers. After that, in the middle of the afternoon, we'll start the live entertainment and then go on to the cardboard boat races. We'll have food trucks there. Just a fairly laid back kind of day, nothing too crazy. there was another event that came up for the Saturday evening, so we scaled back our plans because of that. Like I said, it's just so we don't compete with that game event, because, I mean, they got a pretty big thing on their, on the go with them too. They have to raise a lot of funds for that, so. Anyways, on to the Sunday. We're gonna start off with church service, and then fireman's breakfast, and they're actually gonna go right through to lunch. Car show is gonna be just special interest cars and older cars. And we'll bring the dog show back again because it was a pretty big hit, pretty entertaining. And then we're gonna have duck race at the end of the day. As well as on this, we're hoping to actually have somebody come and do stand-up paddleboard demonstration. We haven't verified that yet, but that is something that we were planning on doing. These are the people that are partnering with us to date, helping us out. The Knights of Columbus, Community Living, Building Bridge to Better Future, Effie Medill, the North Huron Fire Department, Kinsman, the Hitmen, and White Willow Yoga. I think that's the last page. Yeah. We were just, I believe we were moving to get adjustments to the noise bylaw for the evenings in question. And also, I don't think we have yet our terms of reference ready, but we will present that at a future date.
Okay,
I just wanted to refer to point for a second. We discussed last week about, no, excellent, okay.
okay.
I believe that's everything we have planned.
Okay, thank you for that, and that for those beyond the rail, that the extending the noise bylaw from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. on the dates of June 9th and 10th is what it is, so that and on behalf of myself, pardon me, different medication for being in the hospital, that losing my voice a bit, that the committee, there's a number of new people on it, and I want to commend those people that came onto the committee. They've worked hard and trying to just have a real good festival for the municipality. So my personal thanks to all of them.
Thank you as well.
Okay. On the, for the bylaw, or the extending the noise bylaw, Councillor Sype, Councillor Vauden, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Councillor Sype.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment based on this, the group, I really enjoy the fact that we maintained some of the integrity of the festival, but also brought in a couple of new things that we haven't seen before, like a color run and that type of stuff. That's a different, that's a kind of a niche that's out there in the market. And it's nice to see that adding a few things, but also maintaining, it is a festival for the family. So the biggest thing is that I completely understand the needs of having all the normal things, and that's, but I think it's definitely a great festival that we can maintain and everything for everybody in the municipality. So kudos to the group.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 5.3, the Director of Finance. Donna is going to approximately half an hour of a very short Coles notes of what happened.
That's right, thank you.
Go ahead, Donna.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We are presenting tonight the 2017 budget. And as you can see, in a budget composition, there are many pieces to get the budget in order, and it takes teamwork to get the budget passed. We have identified what's important, and as outlined in our strategic plan, we have determined a number of those factors. So we have economic development, communication and citizen engagement, fiscal responsibility and operational excellence, health and safe communities, and we value and protect our natural environment. So there are 4 stages in the budget process. There's planning and budgeting, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. So the planning stage starts with reviewing council priorities. It's a lengthy and complex procedure. Review grants and projects, and this task becomes more and more difficult each year. There are many factors incorporated into the budget, such as inflation, increased costs, priorities, decreased funding, end targets, and previous year actuals. Next comes the implementation phase, where we translate the budget numbers into action, and throughout the year, we still try to get the best prices when putting out for tender or bids. In the monitoring phase, the department heads monitor their budgets and year-to-date monthly, and we present reports to council so that the whole process doesn't stop with passing the budget. And the final stage is the evaluation stage, where we evaluate current operations and procedures, make any changes for the next year, and we file all the annual reports. We have a number of ongoing challenges each year, and this year was no different. We had increased OPP costs for Blythe and East Wallanosh. Those costs are area rated, and those increased costs were $36,057. We're looking at increased utility costs, increased wage and benefit costs. We had 1.8 cost of living. We're seeing shifts of tax burdens, declining industrial and commercial values, and increased farmland values in the East Wallanosh ward. We pay attention to our infrastructure deficit, and asset management is extremely important to us, along with maintaining our existing programs and services. So some of the highlights of the budget are, our overall spending increase was 3.61%, or $170,662 extra to spend for this year. Our total budget expenses, $18,445,569, and we raised from taxation $4,891,640. That's comprised of $3,350,885 from the base rate and $1,534,240 raised from area rating, and then we have $6,515 raised from flat rate streetlights. The water and sewer services has no effect on the tax rate, and it's fully funded by user fees. The special area rates, we have the special area rating in each of the 3 wards. For the Wingham ward, we have $1,186,296, and that is for the Wingham Police Service and street lighting. In Blythe, we have $202,368 for OPP policing and street lighting. And in East Wallanosh, we have $145,576 for OPP policing. At next meeting, we'll be approving the Blythe BIA and the Wingham BIA budgets in conjunction with our budget. So results, a 1% increase generates $47,209.78. According to MPAC, the average assessment in North Huron is $176,000 for a single family residential. Those increases are going to end up for Wingham, $85.82, Blythe, $96.42, and East Wallanosh, $58.68. We're a service provider, and therefore one of our largest expenses relates to wages and benefits. This year, we're looking at $5,567,246, and that represents just over 30% of the total budget. This amount varies from year to year by department and by season, but it also includes council honorarium. This year, our capital spending, which we're going to talk about in a little bit further, is $5,820,987. So I'm going to run through some of the capital projects this year. We're working on the town hall HVAC. I don't know if anybody's been parked around the town hall this last couple of days, but it's a beehive of activity. And so we're going to get that done in conjunction with the theater renovations upstairs, So that's going to cost $78,348. That has been a terrific project, spearheaded by a number of volunteers. They've raised the donations and they were able to get a Trillium grant as well. So this is the second phase. The work started last year. In the fire department, they're looking at some equipment and some bunker gear for just over $49,000, and there's some grates to be replaced in the fire hall for $6,500. The tar and chip program is going to continue this year for $105, and that is going to take Reed Road and Moncrief Road from number 4 to Curry Line is what's going to be completed under that amount of money for this year. We're also looking at Arthur Street this year, which includes the road portion, water and sewer, and this is part of our industrial land strategy, and that's a cost of $227,500. In Blythe, we have the Westmoreland Street project. The tender is out, and our estimated cost there is $435,000. Back in Wingham, many of you saw the work done on Patrick Street last year, and so this final lift of $32,000 is going on to complete that project. We have $100,000 in for an EA and dam safety investigation for the house and dam. Under roads department, we have $20,000 worth of equipment, and we also are going to purchase a new plow truck at $270,000, and we're going to be borrowing that money from Infrastructure Ontario. We'll also be purchasing a backhoe and a loader for $120,000, and we'll be undertaking a streetlight LED replacement program at a cost of approximately $540,000. It's our intention to fund this program internally through the water and sewer rates reserve and then pay it back as with the savings that we realize with the lower consumption costs. Also, we have some sewer equipment at $7,500 that we're going to purchase. The Wingham sludge holding cell will be at $180,000. The UV replacement at the Wingham sewer plant, $105,000. The clarifier weir replacement at the Blythe sewage treatment plant, $32,500. And some CCTV camera work for the sewer system. We're looking at $100,000 to determine the condition of the sanitary sewers, which will be a great benefit to our asset management plan. We're looking at some various pieces of water equipment at $30,000, and to finish up last year's project for water on the Blythe Road development at $30,000. We have the water standpipe and EA detailed design at $200,000, some signage, the wayfinding signs at $10,000. We're undertaking a really exciting pool renovation project for $426,697. We were fortunate enough to receive a $150,000 Trillium grant for that project. There's going to be a fitness trainer in the fitness center, a cross trainer purchased at $9,000, and the recreation department is undertaking an online software conversion program with Legend software this fall. So that'll cost about $45,000. There's going to be some work done at the complex to investigate the humidity invasion problem that they have down there. And so that is going to be at $97,255. We're going to spend $25,000 on converting some lights at the Blythe Arena to LED. And finally, one of the biggest projects we've had on the go in several years is phase 2 of the Blythe Memorial Hall renovation project. So that is $2,493,697. And Pat was working very hard today helping them move back into that facility. So in addition, we have some other important items, and that is we're going to take on a facility condition assessment for both the museum and the public works buildings at about $15,000 each. The water and sewer master plans are going to cost about $60,000 each, and we're waiting for confirmation on grant funding. There's going to be some off-site investigation work done out at the landfill. And we support our community for a total of $53,335, with the biggest portion of those donations going to the hospital, which is year 2. And it's $50,000 a year, which equates to a 1.0 6% increase on the levy. So moving on to our debt, we have a number of projects that we have financed over the years. The rink project down at the complex where we got all the paving of the parking lot done and some energy efficiencies. Building of the EST Center in Blythe, a grader, when the fire boards closed out, the North Huron purchased the assets for the 2 fire stations, a roads project, and so our total debt owing at the end of last year was $2,061,000, and our budget includes $249,799 in principal and interest payments each year. So one question we always get asked each year is why are the taxes so high? And in North Huron, we offer a wide range of facilities, programs, and services, usually provided by a much larger municipality. We have low overall taxable assessment, low average assessment, especially on older homes, and low population base and geography. So all of these factors contribute to the taxes being considered so high. And also we offer a number of duplicate programs, for example, having 2 fire stations, 2 libraries, 3 public works sheds. We contribute to 3 landfills, and the list goes on. Each year we monitor property sales to see how properties are moving. And in Wingham in 2016, we had 81 properties sell, Blythe 27, and East Wawanosh 25. So we still had 133 properties sell with a values of over 27 million, which is much comparable to 2015, where we had 125 properties sell for a total value of 27,420,000. So for the folks who live around town, I'm sure you know where a lot of the money goes, but just to reiterate some of these services that we provide. We have council and administration, animal control, emergency planning, planning and development, North Huron Fire Departments, Wingham and Blythe stations, the EST and Blythe, North Huron Museum, sanitary sewer systems in both Wingham and Blythe, Wingham Police and OPP for Blythe and East Wawanosh, cemeteries, one in Blythe, one in Wingham, the Childcare Center, including before and after and early years and early learning programs. We have a number of parks, trails, playgrounds, sports fields, both in Wingham and Blythe. We pay towards the Maitland Valley Conservation Levy. We have the Wingham Trailer Park, the Blythe Campground, the airport. We have services of building official and property standards. We have the West Cast Community Complex, the Blythe Arena and Hall. We contribute to the Belgrave Arena Board, which is operated by a separate board. We have water and sewer systems in Wingham and Blythe, and we pay our share of the Belgrave system. We look after drainage, community development, and Memorial Hall in Blythe. We have the waste department, and we operate the Wingham landfill, and we also still own the East Wawanosh landfill and pay our share of the Blythe Hullett landfill. Wingham Library, the Blythe Library, which is leased. We maintain 167 kilometers of roads, 11 bridges, and a number of traffic lights. We have donations and community commitments. We have streetlights in Blythe and Wingham and some in the hamlets. And we offer a wide variety of rec programs, fitness programs, aquatic programs, and day camps. And of course, we just talked about some of our debt payments. So that's where the money all goes. So to see that in chart form then, for the municipal portion, so out of $100, $59.32 would stay in North Huron. The county would get $26.22, and we would send off $14.46 to the boards of education. So just to look at this a little bit differently as our allocation by ward, then same $100, we would collect $58.73 from the Wingham ward. Blythe would be $17.57, and East Wawanosh $23.70. So to look at that equated into dollars, I know this print is small, But our total levy is $8,241,379. So out of that, $4,836,473 comes from Wingham, $1,446,520 comes from Blythe, and from East Wawanosh, we collect $1,951,869. So it just gives you a bit of an idea where the dollars come from. So on to the tax rates, and again, I know this is fairly small reading, but I just wanted you to see there where the, again, through MPACT, they have advised that our average assessment in North Huron is at $176,000. The property that applied to last year was actually at $173,000. So I applied all the scenarios to that. And what you would see at a property at $176,000 this year would have an increase of $86.02 in Wingham, $96.62 in Blythe, and $52.88 in East Wawanosh, or 2.57% for Wingham, 3.35% for Blythe, and 1.96% for East Wawanosh. So again, these are, I know this print is small, but here's a number of other specific known properties, and the assessment increases range from some of them as high as over 4% and 6%, and some of them as low as only 0.5%. So for example, a property in Wingham that's assessed at $145,250 is going to pay $2,836.34, or $85.99 more than this property paid last year. If we look at the first one in Blythe, their assessment went up 4.42%, so this property is assessed at $118,000, and it's going to pay $1,997.66, or $114.59 more than last year. And a property in East Wawanosh with a house and a farm, the house went up 6.1%, and so it's assessed at $76,775. It's going to pay $1,199.79 in taxes, which is $72.44 more than last year. But as we're seeing the price of farmland increase, this farmland assessment went up 13.10% to $433,975. So on the farm piece, it's going to pay $1,695.48, or $199.74 more than last year. So asset management is one of our big projects. It's a continuous project, and we're in 2016, we were pleased that we had completed phase 2, and that added the balance of our assets, which was the buildings, fleet, machinery, and equipment. And so the total value of our replacement cost of our assets is $214,508,145. So that's a lot of assets to be responsible for, and to try to raise enough money to have replacement costs when the assets come to the end of their useful life. The next steps include condition and risk assessments and levels of service. And as I mentioned earlier, we included $100,000 for camera work and the water and sewer master plans, which will definitely help us get better data into our asset management plans to create our financing strategy for long term, and it will help us do some prioritization as we move forward, and we'll have to use a combination of debt, user fees, and pay as you go. So we are anxious to get on with our budget. Overall, it's a bare bone budget, but we are getting some good projects completed in 2017, and we definitely want to focus on the future and move forward. So my last slide is there any questions, and my contact information. Again, it's been a long process, and I thank everybody for all your hard work. Any final questions for me?
Well, on behalf of council, thank you to staff for all the work that they've done, and that there was a number of other things on the go last year that compounded some of the technical difficulties that we were working with, but thank you again to staff.
Thank you. And the bylaw to adopt the tax rates, which are the result of passing the budget and actual adoption of the budget, is also included in that bylaw, which will be forward in that section this evening. So, thank you.
Okay, do I have a mover for the motion on 5.3? Councillor Sype, Deputy Reeve Campbell. All in favor? Carried. Okay, 6.3.1. Moving to 6.3.1, Huron Pioneer Threshers. Pat, is there anything that,
Well, I guess the threshers came here earlier to request the opportunity to put the veranda around their log cabin, and staff have been busy with the threshers sort of working out the details. I had hoped the actual draft agreement would be ready for tonight. It's still being bounced back and forth with the insurance details. I fully hope that by next meeting that will be here to present as bylaw. But basically staff have investigated the process of building, the location, and the requirements. We've communicated those to the threshers. They're on board. So now it's just a matter of getting all of our ducks in a row together to make this project happen. Their objective is to build that in June. And so that's why we want to hopefully bring the agreement forward and have it adopted at next meeting, all in one fell swoop. But if there's any questions about the project, I'd be happy to answer them.
okay. Any questions from council? So, bylaw 37 will be next meeting. Okay, yeah. Okay, those in favor of the motion? Carried.
We had a mover.
We didn't have a motion.
Oops. Got ahead of it, eh?
I'll move it.
Okay. Again, all in favor? Thank you. Moving to 6.4.1, the surface treatment. And that, Donna, you didn't say 105,000 when you were hurrying through, but we knew what you were meaning.
Oh, sorry, what did I say?
$105.
$105.
$105, we're not gonna get much $100. I apologize, $105,000, thank you.
That would have been nitpicking to have even mentioned it. Thank you. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Hallahan, Deputy Reeve Campbell. All in favor? Carried. Okay, in the curbside collection, that work through the options. Do I have a mover for this motion? Councillor Vodden? Councillor Knott? Discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I want to voice some displeasure, not with the staff recommendation, because I understand the reasoning for it, but I also have to understand that in this motion that states today, it's a status quo motion, meaning nothing's changing from a service level, from a recommendation level. And I strongly have a feeling that this is a decision that if this council decides to pass, it's because it's the easiest decision and not the hardest, and not the decision that we all should be thinking about when we talk about why taxes are so high as councillors, why we get comments about that all the time when I ran, probably when we all ran. It's very frustrating in the fact that we talk about a budget That is a bare bones issue. And we talk about where money should be spent. We have very long conversations at this council about what our priorities are. And right now, I don't know what we are prioritizing when we have a very potentially savings for a service that we could reduce with, in my mind, little mitigation. We could mitigate a lot of things with some issues about apartments and all that type of stuff. But those are mitigations that we can work through. At this point, we're not even deciding on those mitigations. We're deciding to take the easy route, in my mind. And we, as the North Huron Council, need to start making serious service level changes if we want to become self-sustaining in the future. We cannot continue to be paying this type of level of service for every service we've ever had. Because if we do, something's going to give, and taxes are going to continue to go up, and we're just going to keep pushing money around. So I ask council, is that what we're trying to accomplish? Because if that's what we're trying to accomplish, I guess we've accomplished it.
Deputy Reeve?
I've received quite a few phone calls this week in regards to all the ones where East Walmarsh people who feel we're sacrificing by going bi-weekly, and the whole municipality should all go bi-weekly because of what Trevor has talked about, the savings that was there on the bi-weekly basis, and that's what we should have went with in the first place. We should all be treated the same. We're trying to have a unified township, and this was one of the steps we could have done to go with that.
Councillor Vaughn?
I'm certainly agreeing with Trevor in the sense that we have to find economies. But to say that we would be managing things better if we reduce this level of service is that maybe we can manage that, but there are a lot of people living in apartments who don't have any room for composting. They don't have any room for storing two weeks worth of recyclable waste or wet material. And one of the downsides of this will be an awful lot of dumping, which will cost our staff an awful lot of time and worry. And so I think that the responsible thing at this point is find a way of helping people to compost when they don't have any facilities in their property to deal with it. Find some way of helping them around that problem, and then we can reduce the frequency of pickups. But to throw this on every household in the whole community is unthinkable at this point. So I'm quite in agreement with this motion, with this bylaw.
Councillor Hallahan?
This is being charged on assessment, right? This is how it's being charged to each of the wards. Because I find like now with the land values going up in our assessment, just farmland.
Through you read it's on the tax rate. It's not an area rated service, right? So it's
on the tax rate, but is it correct in saying that the assessment
would factor in then?
Would factor in then. So we in East Wanasha, we're going to get less pickup. But the assessment is going up. Understand what I'm saying?
Not really. So this, our solid waste program, as our director has stated in his report, is actually only 50% funded through user fees, right? And the rest of that is actually on the tax rate. And that is spread evenly among all of the properties. So if your assessment is more, you pay more taxes, but it's not specific to this service.
Jeff?
That was the point I was gonna make, that it speaks to the solid waste service line in general when we talk about revenues that we generate. So the solid waste service line includes curbside collection for garbage and recycling, as well as our landfilling activities. And then we talk about our revenues and our expenditures in total for our solid waste service line. That's what that figure speaks to, is the revenues and expenditures complete for curbside collection as well as landfilling.
Okay, thank you. Trevor?
Yeah, I just, one of the things that I want to reiterate though is the fact that it's a 50% cost, that we're only based on user fees. So here's the thing, we're gonna have status quo here, and there is gonna be an ask to pay more for the other part of that 50%. So irregardless of what we have to do here, there is going to be an increase requested from the taxpayer to subsidize the ease on the tax basis in order to cover this 50% burden that the taxpayer is paying today. That could be alleviated by a reduction in service of what we ask for. The concerning part for me is that we're only looking at one thing. We're not looking at the big picture. And that's the frustrating part.
Councillor Vaughn?
I think there is another factor that we need to take into account. A survey was done to ask the people for their opinion on what kind of level of service we would do. And a huge majority opted for weekly pickup. And for us to turn around and make a different choice that, in spite of our survey, I think causes our credibility to go down the toilet, so to speak. And I think that would be just another factor that we ought to take into consideration.
Okay, I'll take a little bit of a shot at this, and I look at option D. While it's not completely defined, but I think that in its own way is where we look at trying something different, something such as composting in a central location for those urban ones that don't have the opportunity on their properties, and that I think that is one of the things that we have to look at, maybe doing things a little bit different. And a number of municipalities, the same as water and sewer, their solid garbage is going completely out of the tax bill section and into user pay, so that that's what some of our neighbors are doing. And I think that we're working into some of that with the public works being reworked and some new things looked at. And I think that is all well and good, but we can't do it all at once. And that I think staff are working on that for us, but maybe it isn't in this contract. Thank you. Bill.
I'd just like to say too, that in Jeff's report, that he referred to the fact that there may be some changes coming to the Ontario rules and regulations as far as waste disposal and what's happening in the near future. So, for us to enter into wheelie bin contracts that require, I believe, 5 years to absorb the cost would have probably put us in a position 2 or 3 years from now where we might find that we made a bad decision. And that although maybe this isn't the best decision overall, I think for the short term, until we see what happens, it is probably the best under the circumstances. The wheelie bins, I'm really not a big fan of them anyway, and I do agree that you sometimes run a survey and find everybody's in favor of weekly garbage pickup until they have to pay the tab. So although I would have supported bi-weekly pickup, I understand Mr. Wadden's position, But I think that in the end, we prepare for that because that is what is going to happen probably in 2 years. I don't think we're going to have any choice at that point. So you now have 2 years to prepare for that.
Councillor Vaughn.
I've had an awful lot of mail, a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails on this. And from a number of people, they're saying basically, learn to compost and handle your recycling better. Learn how to do it. I think that would be awfully good advice. Can we provide some kind of access to training of people who haven't even thought of compost? I know there are a lot of people like that. When we had our house, we composted everything. It was a great system. We had good topsoil came out of that composter. It's a great idea, but if you don't have room for it, you don't have room for it. You can't add to your apartment or to a tiny house, and so we have to help people learn to solve the problem for us rather than throwing them under the bus all in this one motion.
You have anything, Jeff?
Yeah, just with respect to the survey results, the initial survey was, I guess, introduced to the public to engage and to get some feedback as far as, helping us structure that RFP. A very strong response for continued weekly collection. The second survey we put out, we tried to put some more context to that discussion around weekly and what the cost would be in consideration to the biweekly component. And that's where, we did see a number of, I guess, opinions, maybe not necessarily change, but some of the numbers did reduce when you take into consideration that weekly does cost more. Some of the numbers were more in favor of going to the biweekly, or some shifted towards the biweekly. There was still a strong majority for the weekly component based on the survey results. I would also add that as far as what the proposal would be, we did put the RFP out there and we didn't get a response from the wheelie bin collector. We had asked them to submit, but they never submitted based on our terms. And a lot of it had to do with us outlining the report, the length of the contract, and what would be required to initiate the program. Based on that changing legislation or where we see it sort of going in the future for resource recovery, we're sort of at that point where it is best to hold the course in the sense that the relationship of that refund coming back to us, we want to be able to maintain that, or at least have some control over that. So that's where this, I guess, the recommendation as far as the recycling component and not having to give away that refund, as well as trying to increase our diversion statistics, which is what your solid waste and your waste in general, those are some of the goals you try to achieve as a municipality, is the diversion of waste. So there are some concerns there with, if we do change the service, there may be a concern for, certainly the staff concern for how that is diverted and what form it takes, because it does, in gaining feedback from neighboring municipalities who recently went through some of these exercises, certainly there is a direct cost savings based on the contract going to biweekly, but there are other elements that come into play, including administration, including marketing and education, and working with residents to try to smoothly transition that towards a different level of service.
Okay. We have the motion that the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby directs the Director of Public Works to formalize contract terms with Waste Management of Canada Corporation for option AA and report back to Council with the formal contract for execution. Do I have a mover? Council. Yeah. And Brock and Bill have already done this. So all in favor? Carried. And 7.1, Okay. Skipping over the big one, Kirk. Okay, the building bylaw and the different sections of that in relation to the fees. So, any discussion? Do I have a mover? Councillor Sype, Councillor Vodden, any discussion? Deputy Reeve?
Are we going to do any kind of promotion to give the public what has changed and what hasn't changed? I guess some of the changes are big changes, but there is some it's not.
Well, most of the majority of the changes are not too severe. I would say a lot of the changes in the building bylaw reference sections in the building code that were updated or recently amended. We did remove 2 schedules from the building bylaw, being the old Schedule A and Schedule B, which dealt with the fees and the refunds, as well as property standards fees. Those fees are now being put into the consolidated fees and charges bylaw, which is handy for the public. They can search for fees for basically anything, and it's in one bylaw. They're not searching through 2 bylaws. And in the future, if we do amend the fees, we're only changing 1 bylaw instead of 2 bylaws as well. So the former Schedule C of the building bylaw will now be Schedule A, which just really dictates the type of drawings that we want for any submissions for building permits. So basically, we've cleaned up the building bylaw to reference the current building code.
And Councillor Knott?
I'm gonna kind of ask the same question, but do we have any provision to notify the public of some of these changes?
Well, we did provide public notice that we were going to be amending the fees bylaw. We gave 21 days notice. The new fee schedule will be on the website. The new building bylaw will be on the website. So aside from that, if the municipality sends out a fall newsletter, I'm not sure if we do that here, we can maybe put an article in that letter to notify individuals within the municipality.
Go ahead, Bill.
I think that one of the things that needs to be clarified in that newsletter, whatever, is that a lot of people are unaware of when they actually have to apply for a building permit. At what point, when I'm working on my house, do I have to send in an application? You know, if I'm just tacking a veranda roof onto the side of my house, do I need a building permit? Yes or no? And I think that somehow we have to communicate that to people. There is a great lack of knowledge about when to do something. So I would recommend that somehow we try to get some kind of notice out to the public, whether in tax notices or whatever, fairly soon, and address that as well as the fees.
Sharon, you want to comment?
Yeah, and I think as we're looking to update the information on our website as well, it would be good to have some information in here. We're trying to look at sections of our website and understand from a member of the public's perspective, if I'm looking to access a specific service, what steps do I have to take? So I think we have some work to do in that regard on our website. We can certainly take that into consideration.
Councillor Sype?
One of the things I think we need to understand though as well as a Councillor Knott is if we have the general information available, I think ultimately at the end of the day, the ratepayer needs to make a question to themselves. Should I make the phone call to the municipality to say whether I need a building permit or not? They can determine that whether they decide to make that phone call. We could put all the information on the website. We could put it in the tax notice. If they don't choose to make that call or don't choose to make that application, there is nothing we can do other than the fact that if somebody squeals on them, then that's what happens. That's how it works. So I think a lot of this you know, I hate to be the guy that says, or the person that says, you know, taxpayer needs to have some kind of ownership in this. They do. They need to be able to be responsible on being informed. And if they can't be informed, we have people here, one phone call away, that can make them informed on what they need. So that's a struggle that I think that I think it's important that we have it available, but I also think that the ownership needs to be on the property owner to be knowledgeable about what they need to do.
Just a further comment on the same subject. When we're making changes, just making the electorate aware of what changes we are making and making it a little easier for them to understand. And I think a little bit of a pamphlet as to major things that have changed a little bit could assist. So I think that can be worked out. Okay. All in favor of the bylaw or motion? Carried. Okay,
I could just speak. I just want to have a verbal.
go ahead.
So I don't have an actual report for council tonight. We had requested some wording from our solicitor regarding the extension of the draft plan approval for the A2A subdivision. And our solicitor has told me that he will have it ready tomorrow so I can forward it to county. But I just wanted to let you know that the wording will be consistent with the motion that council passed. So a 2-year extension, they must register the plan within 2 years, and they must compensate council or the municipality for any third party review costs. So the solicitor has been given that instruction, and I will make council aware of the actual wording when it comes in. But it needs to get to county, and perhaps Laura could speak to the timelines regarding that.
Well, the next committee of the whole meeting, day 1, will be May 17th. So the reports are due to department heads by the end of this week.
Thank you. And 7.1, Minister of Seniors Affairs, and that is to proclaim June 2017 as Seniors Month. What is council's pleasure? Trevor?
I'll move it for Ray.
Any discussion? All in favor?
His time is coming.
Carried. 7.2, is there any support for that or not? Ray?
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Okay. Is there a seconder? Councillor Wadden? All in favor? Carried. 7.3, Lewis Flowers. And that is for streetlight installation. What is council's? Councillor Syke?
I'll move the recommendation for a report.
Okay. Deputy Reeve Campbell seconding that for a report. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to council reports. I guess my big thing is from when we had the last council meeting, I got word that I was able to get moved up 9 days notice for the hip replacement, which happened on Friday, and that everything seems to be going good, so that it's meant that there's some other things that I didn't get done though, because when you're running to pre-surgery consults and one thing and another, that it limits your time, so that there's some other things that I have on my desk to be working on, but they aren't moved forward as of yet. Council member activity reports. Councillor Sype.
I would like to send a congratulations to the Building Bridges Gala Committee for a very, very successful event on the weekend. They raised in the neighborhoods of $54,000 to put towards the playground equipment. In discussion with the committee, they are within $30,000 of having the final structure put in place at Maitland River. So they do have a couple of events throughout the year. One of the requests from Teresa, one of the co-chairs, is that they are going to be requesting some volunteers for installation of this piece of apparatus, which will help them in the neighborhoods of $10,000. So it's a little bit of sweat equity. So I will keep informed on that committee's request, and then try to get something to council so that we can make sure and get it the proper notice out there to help that committee and all of what they do. So a very successful evening, and congratulations to them, and very well received to the public.
Thank you. Anything else from Councillor Tonanga?
Yep. On Sunday, May the 28th, there will be the Town Hall grand reopening for the theater upstairs. So the MC is Phil Main, and some of the local talent for the afternoon is the Beard Family, the Bylaws, and the Almost Famous Players. Doors open at 1:30, concert is at 2, and tickets are $5, and they will be available at the gift chest. And also coming up then in June, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th is the Alice Munro Festival, and the stories are all in, and our authors are all lined up and ready to go. And this year's theme is Alice Goes to the Movies, and we're very excited to have a number of movies showing over the weekend, 2 of them being Friday night and Saturday night, both based on short stories written by authors. And these movies, the one is called The Clinton Special, and the other The Drawer Boy, and they're both set and filmed in Huron County, so it should be a very interesting weekend this year.
Okay, any other council reports? Any requests of members of council? Trevor?
Yeah, we just want to make sure that I want to make this request prior to any approval of the bylaw number 36, the discharge of guns and firearms. I'd like the council to have further discussion if we could. So I'd like to have some further discussion about that bylaw.
Thank you.
Okay.
I expect that will happen, that there's other members of council that mentioned it to me as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no notice of motion. We're at bylaw 36. Deputy Reeve?
I'd like to have this deferred until we can have a public meeting with the public to have public involved in the discussion on this. To a further date.
That's a motion.
That's a motion.
I'd second that.
Discussion here for council? Councillor Hallahan.
I've been contacted by a number of repairs on it. And we have a gentleman here tonight, but I understand he cannot speak on it. But he has gave us his thoughts on it here and his questions, and we talked at some time. So yeah, I think it should be put off. Because of the fact that if we pass it tonight, what do we do after tonight is something done. So.
That I agree that to defer it tonight, get a lot fuller discussion and the ramifications that different things might have, I think would help. Councillor Vaughn?
Now, does this mean we will have public input?
Yes.
That's good, because I want to make sure that it's not just another council meeting.
No. Councillor Sype?
One of the things that I think though, we as council need to be maybe more clear on is what the intention of this bylaw was for. And the reason I ask that question is because after 2 weeks of having the discussion, it really became quite muddy to me what the actual motive of this bylaw is. Is it, and I'm going to throw a couple of things out. Is the motive of us to stop people from firing weapons at animals that are, because that seemed to be most of the conversation, or are we trying to stop the 10-year-old kid from shooting a bow and arrow that he got a Canadian Tire at a Target, or what? I think for my purposes, during this public discussion, I'd like some clarity from council as what is our intention with this bylaw? What do we want to accomplish? And then set the bylaw accordingly. Because that, to me, I think after thinking about this current bylaw as it reads, it's a blanket kind of statement, and I'm not sure what the intention of it is trying to accomplish. So that's I think for my clarity during that public discussion or before that public meeting, we need to have some discussion about what that is. What is our intention of this bylaw?
Councillor Knott?
I actually think the bylaw is pretty clear in its intention, but quite frankly, if we're going to hold a public discussion or input for this, I don't see any point in us discussing it further tonight. Let's just pick when we're going to have the public discussion and get on with it. We've still got a whole pile of bylaws to cover here.
Kathy? Sharon?
So from staff perspective, we just need some direction from council as to what you would like from us. Do you want to schedule a public meeting? Are there specific points within the bylaw that you would like further investigation upon? If we're having a public meeting, we should be prepared for that. So it would be nice to understand sort of where the specific concerns are, or do you just want to hold a public engagement session, glean the feedback from that, and then we're coming back to council again, summarizing those comments and receiving direction from council as to what you want to see for this bylaw. We just need some direction.
Councillor Vaughn?
Some of the points that have come up to my attention involve the need for some clarification as to what is the definition of a lawful range for a person to fire a gun legally. What are the requirements? An elaborate permanent structure of some kind, or is it a less formal, where a group of children and their parents are trying out their bows and arrows in a yard, or actually taking target practice? What are the requirements of a suitable lawful range? And another question that comes up is we're always hearing the problem of the rabid animal that's roaming around, making everyone very nervous, and we can't seem to get hold of anybody to do anything. The animal control officer is miles away, maybe not available at the time. What do we do in cases like that? Yes, we can call the police. Sometimes they're not available. Is there another solution? In the existing bylaw, there are exceptions given to persons allowed to shoot a firearm of some kind, and the exception is someone who's acceptable to the bylaw officer, could be designated as a qualified person. Well, who is that? What are the requirements of such a person? How can that be arranged? So there are a lot of detailed questions, definitions that I think need to come out so that they're part of the bylaw. So it's not doing things that we think are meant by the bylaw, but maybe they won't be intended at all.
Sure.
So, you want some public engagement, you wanna do some public consultation. Is there any format that council wants? You want to have an open public meeting, or do you want to solicit, written feedback from the public? If you can give us some direction, we will arrange that.
Bill,
I'm quite in favor of having an open public meeting. That's not a problem, as long as we can do it in a reasonable location where all those who wish to be there. But at the same time, I know Mr. Bailey has submitted some questions, and there are other questions. And as I said, there's no point in us discussing them tonight. Let's submit those questions to the CIO. All right, and if the other public people have questions they want to submit, send them in. And that's the first thing we'll do at the public meeting is we'll address all of those questions that are submitted in writing and then open it for a public discussion.
Councillor
Yeah,
Hallahan.
I think Sharon, if you have a copy of this, there's a lot of good questions on here to start with. And the meeting, I understand that the one individual, he can't be here for maybe a month. No way that there's a lot of knowledge of it while he's here tonight, so.
So if
Sharon, go ahead.
we're arranging a public meeting, we can also provide an opportunity to provide written comment as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Councillor Vaughn.
I think that prepared statements are a very good thing here. So there's not just people rambling off in all directions. It's very difficult to sort out the many, many varied opinions. So in addition to open discussion, I think it would be great if a few people would prepare a well thought out argument for whichever way they want to see this discussion go.
Councillor Hallahan.
I'll make the motion and we defer it.
Already have that.
We had it. Okay, so then we've got a discussion.
Okay,
Second.
that, I think there's a number of points and that, there could be a number of things and that this sort of came to us from a number of different directions, so that there's a number of effects and causes, and I think having that fully explored before we jump into bylaw is a very good idea, so that it will be as to that I think we will have to maybe bring that back as to when staff can start getting that all pulled together for us.
We can certainly do that. And I just want to make a note too that this bylaw deals specifically with firearms and shooting within the urban areas. It does not deal specifically with the nuisance wildlife issue, and that is a separate bylaw as well, which council has directed us to prepare.
Work on. Okay. All in favor of the motion? Okay, we'll get more carried and get more information before we move forward. Okay. Okay, bylaw number 37, 2017. Being a bylaw for the purposes of levying and collecting rates for various purposes and provide for the payment of taxes and to provide for penalty and interest be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, signed by the Weaver clerk and to be engrossed in the bylaw book. Councillor Syke, Councillor Hallahan. All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 38, being a 2017, being a bylaw to amend Schedule C to bylaw number 9, 2017, being a bylaw to establish fees and charges for the Township of North Huron, be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, signed by the Weaver clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book. Councillor Syke, Councillor Vaughn. All in favor? Carried. The bylaw number 39, being a bylaw respecting construction, demolition, and change of use permits and inspections. Be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, signed by the Reeve clerk and be engrossed in the bylaw book. All in favor? Motion. I was gonna take you and Ray. Yeah. Pardon me. Okay. All in favor? Okay. Bylaw number 40, 2017. Being a bylaw to authorize the Reeve clerk to sign on behalf of council a binding letter of engagement, design, upgrade, and transfer agreement between the Corporation of the Township of North Huron and Real Term Energy Corp. For the proposed upgrade of existing street lighting system to LED luminaries, be introduced, read a first, second, third, and final time, signed by the Reeve clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book. All in favor? Mover? I'm in a hurry. Ray and Brock, all in favor? Okay, bylaw 41. And that's cross-border servicing agreement to be read first, second, third, and final time. Councillor Ritzman-Tenenga and Councillor Sype, all in favor? Carried. And bylaw 42, 2017, an agreement between the Corporation of the Township of North Huron and Cornell Construction for the supply and application of surface treatment to be introduced first, second, third, and final time. Councillor Hallahan, Councillor Sype, all in favor? Carried. Any announcements? Other business? Pardon me?
Have an announcement that you want to make on something on the desk?
Some correspondence off the Monday.
Nope, I'm good. Something on my desk. Oh, I'm sorry, there is. Where is it? Oh, right here.
This one, Trevor?
Brochure there, I left it on the desk right there, the printed one.
Oh, this one right here.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I misplaced it. So I'm gonna read something that I want, this is an announcement. Brock and Janice Vodden have developed and managed the repository of Blythe history as a gift to the community and its descendants. The repository is a collection of information about people and events related to the history of Blythe and surrounding area here in County Canada. No Blythe family left behind. Their goal is to be able to respond to the request of any descendant of persons who have ever lived in or around Blythe with significant amount of information. They often spend multiple days with visitors traveling from across Canada and beyond who are doing their own geological research, and they continue to collect articles and items to add to their vast collection. Brock Vodden was born and raised in Blythe. He and his wife Janice raised 6 children. Almost all of his working career has been dedicated to helping people of all ages and stages to learn what they need for a rich and satisfying life. Brock retired several years ago, but continues to serve as several county boards and as a municipal councillor for North Huron. So this is, that is in the program for recognition of individuals or organizations that have contributed to either promotion or preservation of Huron County unique heritage. And I think, I think a round of applause for both Brock and James, that's an excellent accomplishment.
Okay, Pat?
I'd just like to comment that whoever wrote that piece did not realize that the prime mover in this process was Janice. It's her idea. And she's done about 99% of the work. And, so anyway, somebody has their view of who did it. And so now I'm in the doghouse.
Take the tarts when they're being passed around.
Okay, and Pat had mentioned the grand reopening of the Blythe Memorial Community Hall, Friday, May 19th, 2017. With the opening ceremonies at 4 p.m. and the open house 4:15 to 7. So that it would be great for as many of the North Huron people to attend, see what all has been done. And I think this is a great thing for the township, and so that this is just sort of a notification, save the date.
I'd just like to make a comment on that as well.
Go ahead.
I was on a committee that had the opportunity to do a little project, and we had to go into the hall in order to do this. So I've had a sneak peek at it, and it's really impressive. It really is amazing.
I was going to add on to this that it's a great opportunity because normally the public, they come into the audience places during the open house. They're going to get to see in the kitchen, into the back rooms, into the dressing rooms, and in the entire facility. So it's a really great opportunity for the public to get that sneak peek before the doors close again as the festival prepares for the start of their opening night. So great opportunity.
Thank you. Goes to the session, goes to the public session. Sharon?
Yes, so there's nothing else, we can close.
You're moving, Ray, and Trevor. Okay, all in favor?